Well, bye week is done. Practiced yesterday. Had a good practice, full padded deal for Indiana, and had a lot of recruiting this past weekend. All of our coaches were out. You know, I got to, I think, 7 high schools, 6 high schools, and all of our staff did the same. So we were able to, I think, cover about 75 high schools this past 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then came back and Sunday got after it with our guys. Players got a lift in, and then today was player day off, and then we are back tomorrow for a normal, what we would call a normal Wednesday, even though it's Tuesday, and then a normal Thursday on Wednesday, and then fly out Thursday morning for college game day in Indiana, and a great challenge.
You talked about wanting to do some deep dives into a few things during the bye. Anything revealed of significance in the last week or so?
Yeah, I think we were able to kind of quantify and look at some of the series of that kept us from scoring in certain spots down in the red area, or even getting close in there, some of the penalties that occurred, or some of the, maybe missed assignments, or some of the things that we would call differently. I think we looked at the end of the half stuff on defense and looked at some of the run game over the last couple games, and just really looked at almost everything. I mean, I watched obviously all of our games. Our staff looked at all the games. It comes at a great time, the 6 game or 7 games in. And we also realized that one of the biggest things we looked at is consistency. Like, how do you have, some really good drives in a row, or how do you get a couple 3-and-outs in a row, and then where is that breakdown? And we're working real hard to really focus with our team about what does 60 minutes of football look like rather than 47 minutes of football. And, unfortunately, those 13 minutes come at different times. They don't just come at one spot. And, not a lot of personnel changes. We are where we are right now in terms of who's starting, who's backing up. We do feel good about having Durfee back. We do feel like he's certainly an impact player when he's played. And we think that we are continuing to see, we'll look at more Jonah. I think Jonah needed these couple weeks, but he has not practiced really, except for yesterday a little bit. So we needed to rest him up, and feels like he's pretty close to being back. So one of the things we noticed was when he's in the game, there's a pretty big impact.
What did you notice with respect to the run game, where you guys are getting over 100 yards per game, but you're not necessarily getting the touchdowns? What are you seeing that maybe is the gap between those two?
Yeah, I think what it came down to, or it comes down to, is getting into a bad D&D. A lot of times with our run game, we were able to stay on top of the chains, ahead of the chains. It's kind of our MO. And then we were getting down inside we've had, 27 or 28 red zone drives, and 6 of them has had penalties that has put us in a 2nd and 10 plus or 2nd and 9 plus. And we've had 4 snap issues. So you're looking at, of those plays, I think 9 of the 28, series has had a true self-inflicted negative play. And that's what we're really working on, and on trying to know that no one's perfect, right? Everyone commits a penalty or has a mistake, but ours are just happening at a too frequent nature, especially a couple of the games early on. I think we've settled down penalty-wise after the explosive start.
Indiana has a quarterback, or had a quarterback that was being mentioned for the Heisman, off to a really good start, and now it looks like he's going to miss your football game. Do you see them having to make many changes? I know the guy played well last weekend, but are they a different football team?
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like, I saw the guy that went in, Tabin that went in, was 8 for 9 through 2 touchdown passes. So if I was going off of that small sample, I would say it doesn't look like he had to do too much different. I would guess they'll make some adjustments. He did play last year. And then Rourke came in, and I think Rourke and Will Rogers almost had identical numbers at this point in time of the season. And then obviously it's unfortunate when anybody gets hurt and it didn't look good when I saw it. So it didn't surprise me that he wasn't able to play in our game. And then throwing thumb is a tough one. So we're going to have to see what they're going to do on offense. They probably will have some change, but they certainly didn't have to make any big changes in that game, and they were able to continue running the offense that they have done extremely well with.
You've got, obviously, new coaching staff, 30-some transfers. When you watch them, what's worked for them to have been so dominant and be 7-0?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, he got hired November 30th, I believe. So the transfer portal that he was at, the guys that he brought in primarily were there all spring. That's number one. He brought in 13 players from JMU, 13 starters. I think he did a really, really, really good job of bringing in productive players. I think his quote was that he was really looking for production over potential when he was building that roster up. And that December, January, I mean, that's the portal that you want to build your team off of, is that winter portal. And if you're going to go build it in the portal, and I thought they did a great job with that. They found a great quarterback and did a great job. They have a really good scheme. He has a staff that's been together. Defensive coordinator's been with him for 14 years. Offensive coordinator's been with him when he was at JMU. And the guys they brought with him, they were able to, they went from JMU to Indiana. Most people are going to want to make that jump. And so they were able to get really everybody he wanted to bring, he brought. And I think you could see how that's paying dividends for him.
Coach Sinceri's brother's quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. Does that help with any insight or not really?
Yeah, I think Mike Shanahan calls the plays over there. He's the, Coach Sinceri, I think, is the pass game coordinator, co-offensive coordinator over there. And Coach Shanahan, I think, is the receiver coach and is calling the plays. And it doesn't bring any extra insight, no. I think it would work for both sides then. So it would be one of which that we know we got a good team that we got to play. They're playing fantastic football. They're scoring a ton of points. They're certainly in that conversation of being one of the best teams in the country right now. So just going ahead and beating Nebraska 52-7 or whatever, 56-7, whatever it was. I mean, that's a monster win. So they know how to score points. That's for sure.
When both players are healthy, are you better off with McCree or Swanee at right tackle?
Well, I think unfortunately that's not the case. So we don't have both players healthy right now. So we're not in a spot where that would just be. I'd be guessing right now. Neither one have been healthy at the same time. So right now we're Swanee and Kali. Max, I don't believe will be able to play. So we're using those two guys at left tackle, and then mixing Drew in there as well.
You mentioned the transfer portal window. What are your thoughts on the NCAA changing kind of rather roughly that spring window just to, I think, 7 or 10 days? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they just went from 45 to 30, so they went 20 and 10 rather than 30 and 15. Again, I think that, the winter portal is the portal where you see most of the change, right? The spring portal is some disgruntled guys after spring ball's over, or maybe they wanted to give a new coaching staff a chance, and then they decided they wanted to go into the portal. In the spring, rarely are you getting a lot of guys that are going to be starting for you. Our case was a little bit different because of the fact there was no winter portal. But I think it's fine, whatever the NCAA decides regarding that. And I don't know if that's going to get evaluated every year. Are they going to look to see, is it going to be one portal or two portals? Ideally, as coaches, we always would like to know who our team is in January. And then next January, reevaluate it. It's a lot more challenging when you have a whole spring and then you have to restart, except in our case last year when we didn't get here till the middle of January. I think in a normal situation, you look at Mike Elko's situation, right? He got hired December 1st. You look at Signetti, December 1st. You look at Kalen, myself, we were January 15th, right? So it's just different, or 18th, whatever it was. So it's just that you want that whole year you want that year to be able to see. But if you eliminate the spring portal, then where would guys, like our situation, what would happen? And I think that's what they have to figure out before they make those big decisions.
You took Jordan Shaw out of the portal. Did you take that based on his Indiana experience, or did you know him as a high school recruit, or both?
Yeah, I knew him as a high school kid. We took him at Arizona and then brought him here. But we knew him as a high school player. We really liked him as a high school player. We got on him a little bit late, just because, again, that was one of those, we were just kind of transitioning into being able to have an impact in Southern California. That was after our first year at Arizona. And we tried to get him at the last second to come over to us, but we really didn't have much of a relationship at that time. We just really kind of went on overdrive the last couple weeks of recruiting when we were trying to build our roster. So when he became available after a year, we were very familiar with him, and we were excited about the opportunity to get him there. And then obviously when we all came here, we were excited about him wanting to join us here.
You mentioned Max and Sewanee and Jonah and Durf. Any other health updates that we need to know about?
No, I think we're as we played last game. Everybody that played last game will play this game. People that sat out last game will probably sit out this game, except for Durfee. So Kevin Green not be able to play. Quentin Moore not be able to play. I believe everybody else that I can think of right now is playing.
How's Carson Bruner done managing that shoulder? It seems like at times he's looked like he's in a lot of pain, but maybe not the last game or so.
Yeah, I think it's gotten better. It's an AC sprain, so it kind of, we try to protect him during the week of practice, and the more you can protect him in that week of practice, the game becomes, it's a physical game, obviously. So there's some hits that your shoulder takes in the game, but when you don't have to take it all week long, and the game kind of has protected his shoulder, and I could see he's getting to the point now that the shoulder doesn't seem to be impacting anything he's doing. This week was obviously good for him. We didn't put him in a contact jersey all week, so he had like a 7-day rest, let's call it, from Iowa. Physically, he obviously was lifting and running and practicing, but just protected, so we didn't have to have the contact, which allows him to. He told me yesterday he feels the best he's felt since the injury.
Where's Grady mentally, kind of?
Man, he kicked it great yesterday. It was we had some running. I said, all right, Grady, we're either going to run 4 gassers or we're going to run 0, depending if you make this kick. And we put the ball down on the 48-yard line, or a 48-yard field goal, and had the whole team surround him. And I said, it's either going to be whatever that would end up being, 400 yards of running for the players, or 0. And he nailed it right through the uprights. So the team was very excited that we didn't have to run to end practice, and I think he felt good about nailing that kick.
That was at the end of practice?
Yeah, that's how we ended practice yesterday.
How's kind of just been the response for the team coming off that Iowa game into the bye week? Have you seen them kind of mentally respond?
Yeah, we're fully focused on playing one of the best teams in the country, and we never. I don't really necessarily believe in like flushing a game and pretending it didn't exist. Where some people would say, hey, just put it behind you and go. We had a lot of corrections we had to make, and we had the first 2 days of the bye week to make those corrections. Come the third day of the bye week, our third practice, we started making it all about Indiana. And then when we came back yesterday, we didn't talk about the corrections. We just hopefully practiced better, which we did. And we're continuing to get better fundamentally. Young guys in a lot of spots, veteran guys in some spots. Everybody needs to be better. But as we're building it and we're going through this process of understanding how to handle big wins against Michigan, tough losses against Iowa, how is that team going to be able to respond in the future is really the key.
Generally, how do you feel about the special teams after a week of changing some things? I know you mentioned that going into the bye week, you don't want to change things drastically because you talked to the specialists.
Yeah, we need to be better in special teams. That's obviously something that was a focus with Coach Pow and Coach McElwain, myself. We talked a lot about all areas: kickoff coverage, punt block, field goal block. all areas. And we're going to continue to try to get better there. And we're going to continue to do everything we can to improve. But it really is all 11. And it's unfortunate sometimes that it always looks like it's the kicker or the punter. And you sometimes lose track of, if a guy steps the wrong way and there's a guy running through the A-gap, that has nothing to do with the kicker, but yet we all see the kick blocked. Or if you feel extra pressure that you're, too much penetration and you wind up hooking a shot, or hooking a kick, it all looks like it's always on Grady, and that's tough. So I think that Grady knows he's got a responsibility to kick it through the uprights, and he's doing a really good job of focusing in on that. Our offensive line or any of our guys involved in field goal understand their responsibility in this, and we all needed to get better in special teams, and it is my hope that we come out against Indiana and have our best special teams game.
Both Indiana and Washington obviously got the Michael Penix experience. Have you guys seen any kind of benefits of him in terms of recruiting or just, everything he did in this program?
It was nice to have him out at the Michigan game. I think that's exciting. I think you always have a benefit when you have players playing in the NFL, right? Because you get the introductions, you get them talking about it, you get the idea of, Rome catches a touchdown pass and it's University of Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze. You get opportunities there when guys make plays. Trent McDuffie makes a play. It's University of Washington corner Trent McDuffie. So however that works, right, you always get those opportunities. I think that's super cool. So that's the benefit, right? They don't usually talk about the first school you started at. They talk about the last school you went to. And that's just kind of the way life is. And so we're very fortunate that there are so many players in the league right now. Obviously, there's, 13 from last year's team that are in the NFL right now out of 22 starters. So it's a pretty amazing team. And it's pretty cool to be able to follow those guys and root them on.
Isaiah Ward and Durfee were the starting edge rushers in the first two games, and then we know what happened to Durfee. He got banged up. Ward's job kind of changed too. He's come off the bench instead of been out there on the opening series in the last, 5 games. Has he been banged up, or is it just scheme?
No, that's been more based on the type of teams we're playing. We've been playing a heavy run group of offenses. When you look at really from Northwestern game on, Northwestern, Michigan, Rutgers, all those teams have been very much heavy run based. And Isaiah Ward's greatest trait is his ability to rush the passer. So I think he got the last sack in the game against Michigan, right in the 2-minute drive when they were down 10. But we just need to figure out, this is a big game for Isaiah Ward. This team knows how to run and pass really, really well. So this is a great opportunity for a guy like Ward, obviously Durfee, Jacob Lane, Holtzclaw, the whole group to be able to show up. And we're going to need everybody in a game like this against the number 1 offense in the Big Ten and I think top 5 offense in the country.
It seems like teams have not been super eager to run the ball against Indiana. Obviously, part of that is game state. But have you guys seen any opportunity there, especially with Jonah getting a little bit healthier through the league?
I think the biggest thing against Indiana has been they've never trailed. So they're playing with a lead every single game. And when you play with a lead, there's that play caller anxiety that when as an offensive play caller that you're sitting there, if you always feel like you're behind, you have more of a tendency to want to call a pass, or if it's an either or in your brain, you lean pass. And I think that's what's been going on with Indiana. And they've been getting up on Team 7, 14-0, quickly. I think Maryland did a good job of balancing them both. And there was 28-all going into the fourth quarter. Northwestern, they had a situation where it was 14-10 at halftime or something to that effect. And then all of a sudden it's 21-10 and the run game slows down a little bit. So, yeah, the key is for us to be able to run the ball. We have to be able to run the ball. That's how we're building this team. That's how we're building Washington football for the years to come. Good run game, great defense, take shots down the field on offense, and be explosive and get wide receivers touchdowns. That's what we believe in. That's who we are. So we need to run the football if we're going to be successful.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, guys.